The evening air was crisp with a hint of spring, the city lights shimmering on the glass windows of the high-rise building where we were about to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary. 10 years, an entire decade spent with the man I thought I knew entirely. Yet tonight, something in his behavior hinted at a secret, an unspoken tension that didn't belong amidst the smiles, roses, and champagne. I remember the way he arrived at our door, a bouquet of white lilies in his hands, his dark suit perfectly tailored, the faint scent of his cologne clinging to the crisp evening air. "Happy anniversary, love," he said, his voice unusually light, almost too cheerful, as if he were hiding something behind that practiced smile. We entered the restaurant, a small, intimate place overlooking the river. Candles flickered on every table, reflecting in the polished wood, and a soft violin melody floated through the air, perfectly timed for romance. I could feel the effort he put into this night, every detail seemingly flawless. Our favorite table by the window, the flowers waiting on the table, even the dessert menu featuring my favorite chocolate soufflé. Yet, as the evening progressed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He smiled a little too much, laughed a little too easily, and kept glancing at the entrance of the restaurant like he was expecting someone else. Every time our eyes met, he tried to mask it with warmth, but the tension in his shoulders betrayed him. Halfway through dinner, as I reached for my glass of wine, he leaned closer across the table, lowering his voice just enough that it tickled my ear. "Can you wait here for about 20 minutes? I need to meet someone about a surprise for you." I froze, fork halfway to my lips. "Wait, someone?" I asked, trying to match his casual tone, my mind racing. "It's a surprise," he said quickly, brushing it off with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Trust me, you'll love it. Just wait here, okay?" Something in me flickered, curiosity mixed with a subtle unease. I wanted to believe him. After all, it was our anniversary, and surprises were normal. Yet, there was a strange hesitation in his tone, a nervous energy that made my chest tighten. He stood, kissed my cheek, and walked toward the door. I watched him go, my mind spinning with possibilities. A surprise gift, a planned performance by the violinist, or could it be someone else? The thought felt absurd, almost impossible, yet I couldn't ignore the prickling doubt at the back of my mind. I tried to focus on my wine, sipping slowly as I watched him leave, but my eyes kept drifting toward the door, half expecting him to return. The violinist played a soft, haunting tune, echoing the anxiety building inside me. Then curiosity got the best of me. I quietly slipped out the back door of the restaurant, careful not to attract attention, and followed him across the street. The city lights flickered off the wet pavement from an earlier drizzle, casting long shadows that danced eerily around me. My heart pounded, each step heavier than the last. Across the street, under the dim glow of a small cafe sign, I saw him. He was talking to a woman I didn't recognize. They hugged, and the embrace made my stomach twist painfully. This wasn't just a friendly hug, it was intimate, lingering, the way lovers touch after months apart. My breath caught in my throat, and my hands trembled as I pulled out my phone, snapping photos discreetly. The woman laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. He leaned closer, speaking in low tones, and her head tilted in that familiar, affectionate way that made my blood run cold. My husband's hand grazed hers, gentle yet intimate, and for a moment, it was as if they existed in a world that didn't include me. I stood there, frozen, heart hammering in my chest. Memories of our 10 years together flashed in my mind, the promises, the anniversaries, the quiet mornings, and the laughter-filled nights. And now, in this dim cafe light, I realized those memories were built on a foundation that was starting to crumble beneath me. I wanted to scream, to confront him, to demand an explanation right there. But something inside me urged patience. I took more photos, ensuring I had evidence. Then, with a heavy heart, I turned and walked back to the restaurant, forcing my expression into calm neutrality. By the time I returned, he was already seated, his smile carefully composed, radiating the charm that had first made me fall in love with him. "Ready for your surprise?" he asked, his eyes bright, oblivious to the storm brewing behind mine. I slid my phone across the table. "Actually, I think the surprise is mine," I said calmly, watching as the color drained from his face. Returning to the restaurant, I felt a strange mix of fury and disbelief. The moment I slid my phone across the table, his smile faltered, but only for a split second. He recovered quickly, though his eyes betrayed panic. What's this?" he asked, voice tight, trying to keep the same tone of casual charm. I picked up my wine glass, swirling the deep red liquid with deliberate slowness. "These are photos of you across the street," I said calmly. "With her." His face paled. A flicker of something, fear, guilt, maybe even desperation, crossed his features. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, fumbling for words. I let the silence stretch, heavy as the candlelight between us. I wanted answers, but I didn't want an immediate explosion. I needed to see the truth fully, and I needed him to feel the weight of his own deception. So I spoke quietly, deliberately measured. "Who is she?" He swallowed. It's not what it looks like," he said. His voice cracked slightly, betraying his practiced composure. I raised an eyebrow, forcing the tiniest smile, calm but icy. "It looks like a hug between lovers. But please go on. Explain to me what this is, because from here it seems very clear." He hesitated, fidgeting with the napkin. I watched the subtle signs of guilt, the way his fingers trembled, how he avoided my eyes, how his legs bounced nervously beneath the table. I felt a mixture of satisfaction and heartbreak. Satisfying because I finally had proof. Heartbreaking because the proof was undeniable. Finally, he sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Her name is Rachel," he said. "She's an old friend." "An old friend," I repeated, my voice calm, but with an edge sharp enough to cut. "From when?" "Last week, last month, last year." He swallowed hard. We met recently. I didn't mean for it to. I stopped him with a raised hand. "I don't want excuses. I want the truth. Did you love her? Or was it just a fling?" He flinched at the word love, but there was no hiding it. The truth hung in the air between us, a heavy, suffocating weight. I don't know," he admitted finally. "It happened so fast. I didn't think, I got carried away." I felt my chest tighten, my mind racing back over our 10 years together. I remembered his laughter at our first date, his steady hand when we moved into our first apartment, the promises he made on our wedding day. And now, here he was, betraying it all. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to leave, right then and there. But instead, I stayed calm. I had to. My power wasn't in yelling. It was in the undeniable truth I held in my hand and the control I still had over myself. "Did you plan to tell me?" I asked quietly, eyes fixed on him. "Or were you hoping I'd never find out?" He shook his head, defeated. I don't know. I thought I could manage it, I guess. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you, but I can't explain why You can't explain why you betrayed me," I finished for him. The words tasted bitter, but liberating. "Do you know what it feels like to trust someone completely, and have that trust smashed in one instant?" He didn't answer. There was no excuse that could erase the image burned in my mind. Him hugging another woman across the street, smiling at her the way he used to smile at me. The rest of dinner passed in a surreal haze. I sipped my wine methodically, watching him fidget and apologize without sincerity. Every word he spoke sounded hollow, meaningless. I thought about our anniversary. This night, meant to celebrate love, had turned into a revelation of betrayal. When the check came, I insisted on paying. He looked shocked, but I didn't care. I wanted no debts tonight, no favors, no excuses. I wanted control, clarity, and a clean slate. As we left the restaurant, I walked ahead of him, my posture straight, every step deliberate. He followed, quiet now, a shadow of the man I thought I knew. I felt a strange exhilaration in my composure, a sharp contrast to the storm of emotions inside. I wasn't broken, I was awakening. Back at home, the tension didn't ease. I kept replaying the scene in my mind, the dim cafe lights, his hand grazing hers, their laughter. My chest ached, but I didn't cry. I poured a glass of water instead, letting the cold liquid ground me. I needed a plan. This wasn't just about tonight. It was about every lie, every hidden secret, every subtle betrayal that may have preceded it. I wasn't going to confront him recklessly. I needed control, leverage, and clarity. I spent the night reviewing the photos, organizing them meticulously, noting timestamps, gestures, and the way they interacted. Each detail added fuel to my resolve. This wasn't just about anger. It was about truth, justice, and reclaiming my power. Hours later, he tried to approach me, carefully, apologetically. "Can we talk?" he asked softly, as though testing the waters. I turned to him slowly, eyes steady. "We will talk," I said, "but on my terms. Right now, I need space. Think about your actions tonight. Think about the life you've chosen." He nodded, swallowing hard, and left the room quietly. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sorrow. The man I loved was still there, but the foundation of our marriage had cracked, and there was no ignoring it. That night, I slept fitfully, my dreams haunted by shadows of betrayal and flashes of our happiest moments. By morning, I knew one thing clearly. I couldn't continue as if nothing had happened. My heart was torn, yes, but my mind was sharp, and I would decide the future on my terms. The next evening, I woke with a mixture of dread and determination. Every fiber of my being wanted answers. I wanted him to feel the weight of his betrayal, not with anger, but with the quiet, undeniable truth I held in my hand. I spent the morning moving deliberately, organizing the house, preparing a small breakfast, even straightening the flowers from yesterday. Everything seemed normal, but the air was heavy with anticipation. I wasn't angry in the way he expected. I was calm, controlled, and fully aware of the power shift. He arrived home later than usual, carrying the faint scent of his cologne and a nervous energy I had learned to recognize. He smiled, but it was tentative this time, unsure. "Hey, how are you?" he asked cautiously, setting down his briefcase. I gestured toward the table where I had set my phone, opened to the gallery, with every incriminating photo carefully arranged. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady, measured, and unshakable. His face fell slightly. I've been thinking about last night. About everything. I cut him off. Last night was not a mistake. It was a choice. And choices have consequences. He swallowed, a nervous tick I had never seen in him before. He tried to approach me, but I stepped back, maintaining the invisible boundary I had drawn. "Sit down," I said, indicating the chair across from me. "We're going to go through this properly." He hesitated, then obeyed, the fear in his eyes betraying him. For the first time in our marriage, I saw him as someone small, vulnerable, exposed. I began methodically. "Who is she?" "Rachel," he admitted. "An old friend. We met recently." "I didn't mean." "Don't say that," I interrupted. "Don't say you didn't mean to betray me. Don't say you didn't intend for this to happen. You intended it. Your choices were deliberate." His face paled. His hands clenched into fists on his knees, trembling slightly. I don't know. It happened so fast. I got carried away. I never wanted to hurt you." I leaned forward slightly, letting my eyes lock with his. "But you did. You did hurt me. And tonight I want the truth. I want everything. Every lie, every moment, every word you hid from me. I want the full story, or this conversation ends." The tension in the room was suffocating. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the wall clock, each sound amplifying the silence between us. Finally, he spoke, voice low and trembling. "We met 2 weeks ago. It started with lunch, just talking. And then one thing led to another. I didn't plan it, but I kept seeing her. I didn't want to admit it, not even to myself. I thought I could handle it." "Handle it?" I echoed, incredulous. "You handled it by deceiving me for 2 weeks? By planning meetings behind my back? By turning our anniversary into this?" He flinched, the words hitting him like a physical blow. I'm sorry. I truly am. I don't know why I did it." I could see the truth in his eyes, or at least the fear of being caught. But fear is not the same as remorse. I needed him to understand the depth of his betrayal and the weight of his choices. I picked up my phone and showed him the photos I had taken at the cafe. "See this? Every touch, every look, every laugh. This is your truth. Not excuses, not explanations, just reality. He looked down, unable to meet my eyes. His lips trembled as he muttered, I know. Do you? I asked softly, leaning closer. Or do you just know I caught you? The room was silent except for our breathing. I could feel my heart pounding, not with anger, but with a quiet determination. I wasn't going to lose myself in rage. I needed clarity, control, and a plan. I want to know, I continued. Why? Tell me why you betrayed the person who trusted you completely. Tell me why you risked everything we built together. His hands shook on his knees, and he finally looked up, tears welling in his eyes. I don't know. I was lonely. I felt unseen. I didn't mean to hurt you, I swear. I wanted someone to notice me. I stared at him, disbelief and sadness warring inside me. 10 years. 10 years of love, compromise, shared dreams, and it all came down to feeling unseen. I let the words sink in, then said calmly, almost gently, you were seen. I saw you every day, loved you every day, supported you every day. And you threw it away for this? For what? A fleeting touch? A stolen laugh? He had no answer. His silence was his confession. I realized then that this confrontation wasn't just about exposing him. It was about reclaiming myself. For too long, I had defined myself through our marriage, through his approval and presence. Tonight, I needed to define myself for me. I need time, I said finally, standing up. Time to think, time to breathe, time to decide if what we had can survive what you've done. He nodded, voice barely a whisper. I understand. I'll wait. I'll do whatever it takes. But the truth was, no action he could take would undo what had been broken. The trust had been shattered, the foundation cracked, and I knew that my path forward would be one of self-discovery, of strength, and of reclaiming the life I deserved. That night, I slept alone, the weight of betrayal heavy on my chest, but also a spark of something new, clarity. I knew that the coming days would be painful, but also necessary. Pain is temporary. Strength is forever. And I was ready to reclaim mine. The following morning, the house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes every small sound, footsteps, the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, echo like a warning. I had spent hours awake the night before, replaying every detail, every word, every look in the photos I had taken. By the time the sun rose, I had decided. The days of me being a passive observer in my own life were over. He came out of the bedroom, tentative, like a man walking on fragile ice. His face was drawn, haunted by guilt, regret, and the knowledge that I now held all the cards. Can we talk? He asked softly, the words fragile and unsure. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I walked slowly into the living room, letting each step echo, asserting the silent power that had been dormant inside me for far too long. He followed cautiously, glancing at the phone I still held in my hand, the one with the evidence, the truth, the undeniable reality of his betrayal. I stopped in front of him, my expression neutral, calm, but with a sharpness in my eyes he could not ignore. Last night, I said, voice steady, you saw the woman you've been hiding from me. I saw it too. And I've thought about everything since. The lies, the secret meetings, the stolen smiles. You've made it very clear where your heart is right now. He swallowed, looking anywhere but me. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I truly am. I never meant. Don't, I interrupted, holding up a hand. Don't speak unless you're prepared to face the truth. Apologies won't erase your choices. They won't erase what you've done. I placed my phone carefully on the table, sliding it toward him. These photos are just the beginning. They're proof of what you did, of what you prioritized over our marriage. I want you to understand the depth of what you've lost, not just me, but the life we built together. His hands shook as he picked up the phone, eyes widening at the images. He looked at each one, every frame, every gesture. The intimate hug, the lingering touches, the way she leaned into him. Each photo a silent, piercing testament to his betrayal. He began, voice breaking. Enough, I said firmly. I don't want excuses. I don't want explanations. I want you to understand the consequences of your actions. And I want to know, do you even want to repair what you've broken, or is it already too late? His eyes met mine briefly, then fell. I don't know. I love you, but I don't know if I can undo this. I felt a pang of sorrow, not for him, but for the man I thought I knew. He wasn't that man anymore, if he ever was. I had loved him fully, trusted him completely, and he had thrown it away. I need space, I said finally. Time to think, to breathe, to figure out what comes next. You'll stay away from me tonight. No calls, no texts, nothing. He nodded, defeated. I understand. The first night alone after this revelation was surreal. I paced the rooms, feeling a strange mix of grief, anger, and liberation. The man I loved had shattered the trust we had built, but in doing so, he inadvertently gave me something I hadn't realized I needed: the clarity to see my own worth, my own strength, my own path forward. The next day, I made the first of many decisive moves. I called a lawyer, not immediately to talk divorce, but to understand my rights, to prepare for all eventualities. I cleaned the house meticulously, not out of domestic duty, but to reclaim my space, my home, my life. I began writing down my thoughts, my feelings, every betrayal, every emotion, every memory that now carried a dual weight of love and deceit. He tried contacting me, texts, calls, even a few tentative visits, but I maintained my distance. Each attempt was met with calm, firm boundaries. I would not allow him to manipulate me with guilt or charm. The power had shifted. Friends noticed the change in me. I started reconnecting with them, sharing small glimpses of my ordeal without going into every detail. Their support reminded me that my life extended far beyond the walls of my home and the shadow of my husband's choices. By the end of the week, I had made a critical decision. I would no longer live in uncertainty. I scheduled a face-to-face meeting with him, not for reconciliation, but for clarity. This would be the night I decided the future of our marriage, the night I reclaimed my life completely. When he arrived, I was ready. I had rehearsed what I wanted to say, not out of spite, but out of necessity. I wanted honesty, finality, and a chance to step into my own power. I need to know, I began, voice calm, unwavering, if there's anything left of us worth saving. Can you be honest with me, fully honest? He hesitated, then nodded slowly. Yes. I want to make it right. I don't know if I can, but I want to try. I looked him in the eyes, reading every nuance, every hesitation. I had already anticipated this. I knew the truth. Intentions alone could not repair the damage. Trust, once broken, could not be rebuilt with words alone. I love you, he added, almost desperately. But I understand if you can't forgive me. I'll do whatever it takes. I let the silence hang, letting the weight of his words settle, letting him feel the gravity of his choices. And then I said something that surprised even me. Tonight I realized something. I don't need whatever it takes from you. I need myself. I need my life, my choices, my freedom. And I will not wait for you to decide whether or not you want to be worthy of it. The color drained from his face as the finality of my words sank in. He had underestimated me, assumed my love would tether me to him no matter what. But I had discovered something stronger than love: self-respect. That night, as he left the house quietly, I stood by the window, watching him disappear down the street. The city lights reflected off the glass, a reminder that life goes on, that we are not defined by betrayal, but by how we rise above it. And I had risen. Days turned into a week, and the tension in the house faded, not because the betrayal was forgotten, but because I had chosen clarity over chaos. I no longer reacted with panic, anger, or despair. Instead, I acted with intention, measuring every word, every movement, every interaction. The man who had betrayed me was no longer a master of my emotions. I was. He tried reaching me again, timid texts and hesitant calls, each one a silent admission of guilt. I ignored them. Each ignored message was a brick in the wall I was building between his deceit and my peace. I didn't need to respond. I didn't need to justify my feelings. My silence spoke louder than any words. By the second week, I began reorganizing my life, not as a wife betrayed, but as a woman rediscovering herself. I contacted my friends, whom I had neglected in the quiet of marital life, and planned small outings, dinners, even walks in the park. I laughed again, slowly at first, then fully. It was a revelation. The joy I thought had vanished with my marriage was still alive inside me. I had only forgotten how to let it breathe. One afternoon, I found myself at a quaint bookstore I used to visit with him, long before the first cracks of deceit had formed. I wandered the aisles, letting the scent of old pages and fresh coffee soothe me. Then I saw it, a notebook with a soft leather cover, blank inside, waiting for someone to fill it with their story. I picked it up and smiled. I would fill it, not with sorrow, but with my life, my dreams, my thoughts. My story. Not his, not theirs, but mine. When he arrived that evening, I was ready. He had asked to meet, to talk, perhaps to apologize again, perhaps to salvage something that no longer existed. I met him in the living room, standing tall, calm, and confident, the notebook clutched in my hands. It was a symbol of my reclaiming, not just of memory, but of purpose, of control, of life. "I came to talk," he said, voice hesitant, as though stepping on fragile ground. "I know," I replied evenly, "and I will listen, but this conversation is not about excuses. It is about closure, and I've already decided the direction of my life." His eyes widened slightly, the tension in his posture betraying him. What direction is that?" I placed the notebook gently on the table. Forward. Away from lies. Away from betrayal. Away from what I cannot control. This life, I gesture around the room, is mine. I am reclaiming it. And I am reclaiming me. He tried to speak, to interrupt, but I held up my hand. "No. You have had your chance to explain, apologize, and plead. And I have heard enough. The time for decisions is mine, and I choose peace, integrity, and myself." Tears welled in his eyes, not tears of joy, but of fear, regret, and the realization that what he had lost could not be returned. "Please, I can change," he whispered, desperation creeping into his tone. I shook my head. "No, I cannot change your past, and I refuse to live under the shadow of your choices. You have made your bed, and now I am stepping out of it, strong and unafraid." With that I turned, moving to the window, letting the last rays of sunset bathe me in light. For the first time in weeks, I felt free, not as a wife defined by her husband, not as a victim of betrayal, but as a woman standing firmly in her own life, her own choices, her own power. The days that followed were filled with small victories. I traveled alone, attended events I had postponed, reconnected with my passions. I wrote in the notebook, filling page after page with dreams I had forgotten to dream. Each word, each line, each thought reinforced the life I was reclaiming, not built on anyone else's approval or presence, but on my own strength. And then one morning, months later, I woke to find that I had truly moved on. The pain had faded, replaced by clarity. I smiled as I read a passage I had written the night before. "Tonight I am whole, not because of anyone else, not because of love returned or revenge taken, but because I chose myself. I am my own story now." I glanced around the room, at the life I had rebuilt, the books I had returned to, the memories I had chosen to keep and cherish for what they were. I realized something profound. Betrayal had not broken me. It had refined me. It had forced me to confront my own strength, my own worth, my own life. And when he came again, months later, timid and uncertain, I was ready. I met him with kindness, but firm boundaries, not out of lingering affection, but out of clarity. I did not need closure from him. I had closure for myself. "You seem different," he said softly, almost afraid. "I am," I replied, calm and unwavering. "I rebuilt my life, my heart, and my trust in myself. I no longer need validation from anyone who has proven untrustworthy. I am free." He looked down, ashamed, and for the first time I felt nothing but peace. Not anger, not sorrow, just peace. I turned away, moving to the window, letting the city lights wash over me like a promise. Outside, the world continued, bright, vibrant, and full of possibilities. And so was I. On that day, I realized a truth I would carry forever. Life will test you, betray you, and challenge your trust, but your strength, your clarity, and your choices define your freedom. And I had chosen mine.